Hello everyone and welcome back to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy. Today we've got a Legacy match for you. This is Blue-Green Omnitell versus Food Chain Goblins. On the left we have Slain playing his Blue-Green Omnitell list. This list is the accepted version of a Sneak and Show list now. It doesn't run Sneak Attack at all anymore, just runs Show and Tell. So Show and Tell is this great card, Sorcery Speed, 3 mana, put something into play. Everybody gets to put something into play, and the enchantment that this player is choosing to put into play, of course, is the 10 mana cast Omniscience, being able to cast things from their hands without paying their mana costs. Now you can just kind of run away with the game with this thing out on the field, especially if you get to drop Griselbrand into play, get to draw all those cards. Eventually you're looking for Emrakul the Aeon's Torn so that you can take your extra turn since you are casting Emrakul. Albeit for free, you're still casting her, so you get that when you cast this spell, take an extra turn after this one. Little caveat there. So you get to play Emrakul, you get to play Griselbrand, and then you get to turn them both sideways, attack for 22. That's the normal way to win the game. This deck also has a little bit of staying power in Ice Fang Codal, trying to do its best impression of a Baleful Strix. This deck also runs Uro because it is blue-green. I'm pretty sure it's a crime to not run Uro if you are in blue and green. And then also, of course, it has Force of Wills and Veil of Summer because you want to make sure that your spells resolve, especially this Omniscience. I guess that is for the Show and Tell specifically. This deck also runs Intuition, which can help you look for the thing that you need in your deck. You just find 3 copies of it and put it into your hand. It also runs Cunning Wish, which gives you the Wish sideboard, being able to grab all sorts of different things out of your sideboard. I believe Cunning Wish is specifically an instant, so the 2 instances are Sublime Epiphany, basically a card that can do everything, and Shared Summons, which can go and get the Emrakul and the Griselbrand for you, as well as Noxious Revival if you really need to put something back into the top of your library, and it's also got like Force of Vigor. Basically, you can grab just about anything you need to dig yourself out of any situation, even through all sorts of sideboard hate. Combating this on the right is myself playing Goblin Food Chain. Now, this is normally a combo deck, but this is kind of a value combo deck. It doesn't have a determined outcome. You're trying to play goblins of all kinds, obviously Goblin Lackey, trying to get better goblins into play if you can attack and deal damage, getting to put Muxus Goblin Grandee into play. That's always one of the win conditions, to get a bunch of goblins flooded onto the field and just outvalue your opponent. But it also runs this enchantment, Food Chain, exiling a creature you control, then getting X mana of a color that you choose, and it's that CMC +1. So if you exile a lackey, you get 2 mana. If you exile a matron, you get 4 mana, and so on and so forth. And so what you can actually do is, once you play the Food Chain, you can build up through your different goblins. So you can use a matron to go and find a ringleader, exile the matron, play the ringleader, get whatever value you're going to get off of the ringleader, exile the ringleader, and keep going like that. And this often will turn into actually chaining Muxuses into each other. Although it's a legendary creature, you can exile him for the 7 mana and then play another Muxus on top of that to dig further and further into your library, trying to find a bunch of goblins and either turn it sideways with the Goblin Chieftain, which gives everybody haste, or you can sacrifice everyone with the Sling Gang Lieutenant and Pashalik Mons, being able to deal 2 damage per goblin that you sacrifice. So with these 2 combo decks operating at their peak efficiency, let's see who can get there first. We have myself starting on turn 1 with a Cavern of Souls, naming goblins, putting a Goblin Lackey into play. If this is unanswered, Goblin Lackey will be able to turn sideways and put a goblin from hand into play without paying its mana cost. Just a preordained from Slain, so let's see what's in the hand. It's a Goblin Ringleader, revealing a Food Chain, another Cavern of Souls, and then the Chieftain and an Ignoble Hierarch. So no Muxus to start, but a lot of advantage here at least. Gonna see a lot more goblins coming into play. Maybe that Munitions Expert accidentally revealed. Seeing a Brainstorm from Slain on main phase, trying to decide what chaff he's going to keep in his hand. It's going to be taking a lot of damage here, getting a lot of goblin triggers this next turn if he doesn't deal with these 2 lackeys. The damage coming across the board, a quick cut there for shuffling. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. If nothing else is added to the board, I think there is a chieftain in hand, though, that can boost up the board quite a bit. Just seeing a ponder. I think Slane's thinking the long game here. He's thinking if he can take a couple hits, maybe he can just survive long enough to jam Emrakul and Grizzlebrand into play. Not even have to worry about all these goblins. So he passes the turn back. 3 mana is going to get that chieftain in play. So everybody's going to get +1/+1. So it's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage. And then we're seeing a slinging lieutenant and a munitions expert. And that is 9 goblins on board exactly, being able to sacrifice everybody on board to drain Slane from 9 mana, or 9 mana from his life total, which was 9. So we're on to game 2. Slane starting out the game here just with a ponder. Doing a lot of hand sculpting. A lot of what blue-green Omnitell is doing. Wants to make sure he has the correct cards. Looks like he does have at least the show and tell in hand. Another game with a Goblin Lackey to start. And we're seeing a Wooded Foothills going and getting something. Where's Goblin Lackey? There he is. Getting a forest. Can't be wastelanded, that's for sure. Not a whole lot of people run the basic forest, but I like to make sure that I have access to that green mana in my deck, so I can always cast Food Chain. We're seeing another ringleader off of a lackey, and a terrible showing there. Just a lackey that I cared not to play. Very, very, very telling that that red mana wants to be used for something else this turn. Perhaps maybe a Pyroblast out of the sideboard. Who knows? Here's an Ice Fang Codal from Slane getting to draw an extra card. I guess he didn't want to trade. Oh, it wasn't going to trade with the Goblin Lackey, so he didn't want it to just die. That's a big risk, though. Maybe risking a Muxus coming into play instead of just chump blocking a Goblin Lackey for a turn. But now, playing it this way, I guess, was the correct way. Oh, but he doesn't get a snow-covered permanent, so it does not have Death Touch. How am I supposed to get between these things? There we go. The Ice Fang Codal needs at least 3 other Snowland permanents. Oh, well, there it is. He had a Neuro, of course. Getting to draw an extra card and play an extra land, get a free Explorer plus 3 life. Passing it back. We're seeing a Goblin Matron come into play now. Gonna go and get Muxus Goblin Grandee. This guy does quite a few things. People kind of forget his secondary abilities. So when he first comes into play, you get to look at the top 6 cards of your library, and all goblins that cost 5 CMC or less enter the battlefield and stay there without paying their mana costs. And then, if you just have Muxus in play, whenever he attacks, he gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other goblin you control. Not for each other goblin attacking, each other one you control. So some people seem to miss that clause and think that he's just a 4/4, and I turn him sideways and go, this guy's hitting for 11. Are you sure you're okay with that? Oh my gosh, what? And then, yeah, those games don't end well for the opponent. So we just see a tapped Mystic Sanctuary for Slane, not even going for the Uro there. Must have something else that he can do at instant speed. Seeing another Goblin Lackey and another Matron, seeing a Runeveld Horde Master getting searched up. This guy is the new Lord from the Dominaria set. Gives other goblins +1/+1. Only costs 2 mana. And he can exile cards from the top of your library whenever goblins die. Seeing a Pyroblast for that intuition. But now the shields are down. Slane knew this was coming, so here's the show and tell. The Muxus coming in, the Omniscience coming in. So Muxus is going to get its trigger. checking the top 5. In response to that trigger, though, we are seeing a Cunning Wish. So the Omniscience, allowing him to cast things without paying their mana cost. Cunning Wish, grabbing an instant from outside the game. Grabbing Shared Summons, so that he can search his library for Emrakul and Griselbrand. A pretty good hit off of the Muxus. Double Ringleader, getting all sorts of goblins onto the battlefield, but all these Ringleaders these cards going to hand. So unfortunately, looks like it's not quite enough to deal with the powerhouse that is 22 damage in the air flying. Although it's really close, because Pashalikmon says whenever a goblin dies, you can deal 1 damage to any target. And so with this Annihilator trigger on the stack, I have to sacrifice 6 goblins, which is actually 6 damage. And if I had 1 more damage to deal, I could have killed Griselbrand in response to the Annihilator. Well, not in response to the Annihilator, but due to the Annihilator trigger. But that's not how this is going to work out. I kind of sit here and think for a second. I'm going, oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I could do that and sacrifice 6 goblins. We can exile some stuff off the top of the library with the Horde Master. Not quite sure. But it's just not enough damage. Here's the 6 cards off the top. Only 2 goblins. Still not good enough. Still taking 22 in the air. That's going to be game. So now we're on to game 3. Just a Mountain Pass, a Ponder from Slain. Shuffling it up. He does not like what he sees there. Would have been cool to be able to kill a Griselbrand with a Pashalikmons, but to be fair, if I could have killed Pashalikmon, or could have killed Griselbrand there, more than likely he would have drawn as many cards as he was able, probably upwards of 14, to try and find either a second Griselbrand or a second Emrakul, so that he could take his next turn again and then just kill me the next turn. But that's neither here nor there. Since we are in game 3, we see a Goblin Lackey coming down on my side, a Brainstorm coming down on Slain's side. Stop me if you've seen this set of plays before. Trying to decide, doesn't want that Show and Tell. Already has the Show and Tell in hand. I think he's looking for one of the creatures. He does have, I can never tell, Cunning Wish and Intuition look very similar to me. I think that was a Cunning Wish in his hand. We're seeing the Muxus on turn 3. A Ringleader shows another Muxus. So this is a lot of damage on this next turn here. We're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 damage, at least. With the Sling Gang Lieutenant, if the Goblin Boy is unanswered, the Goblin Lackey, that is going to be game. But once again, I'm not entirely certain Slain knows that Muxus is more than a 4/4 at this point. But I can't exactly remember how this game goes. Oh, there's a Runeveld Horde Master to make everything more difficult. Yes, so I think I grabbed the boy, what's his name? The Sling Gang Lieutenant, in case he had the Show and Tell here. Because if he has the Show and Tell, then with the Sling Gang Lieutenant in play and the Pashalikmons in play, I have control of the board pretty darn well. Seeing an Uro going up to 22. Does have a land to play here. Is that an Ancient Tomb? An Ancient Tomb. He's got a Flooded Strand. I don't even know Blue-Green Omnitell ran Ancient Tomb. Point at Muxus and show that this is more than 22 damage here. Especially with the Runeveld Horde Master giving everybody +1/+1. And yep, that's going to be game. So we got to see both decks do their thing at least once. Although Food Chain wasn't involved, good old Goblin Lackey got there, putting things into play and just overwhelming the board there with good old-fashioned gobbos. Now I'm going to turn it over to pre-recorded Eugene, who's going to take us out. Take it away, Eugene. Thanks for watching. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you want to see more of this content in the future. We have a bunch more of these on the channel, so go check out our backlog to see some other premium content. If you're curious about a deck you saw played here, the deck lists are always in the description of the video below. Thanks as always to Spellhold Games for letting us play at their store, and we'll see you next time for some more Magic content on Tuesday Night Legacy. Bye!